Welcome to my new adventure, my new podcast. This is going to be a podcast mainly based into motocross, but we will touch on some cycling, some hiking, some backpacking, and just some overall adventuring. This is just going to be my podcast, my channel, just kind of, day-to-day adventures and shop talk and some old school motocross. So about me. In this show, though, we will mention and cover, like I was talking about, some cycling, some hiking, but mainly motocross, supercross, maybe some bike setup. I'm not an expert mechanic, but I'm learning, and you can learn along the way with me. I have some friends that are really good mechanics that could probably help. May do some product reviews, maybe not. I'm not an expert in that field, and I've kind of chose a side on a few things, so it's probably not what you want to hear. We'll talk about travel, camping, travel, everything we get into. So if you don't mind, take a few minutes, like, subscribe, follow, all the things that everybody asks you to do on their podcast. And to be honest with you, I don't care if it's 5 people or 15 people that listen to me. I just want this creative outlet. And motocross and adventuring is very important to me. So who am I? My background in motocross, I started in 94, the end of 94, beginning of 95. 94, I did 2 races. I was 16 on a 1986 RM125, yo. And then I went into the 95 season and raced locally here in Ohio in a district called District 11. Used to be really, really, really heavily populated with some very, very, very fast people. And so District 11, I do not believe is anymore. If it is, it's a very few tracks, and there used to be a ton of tracks in it. Now we have a bunch of tracks around us, but they all do kind of like their own thing. There's so many fast kids that came out of Ohio at that time, like Mark Burkhart, Greg Rand, Josh DeMuth, Jeff Gibson, Michael Willard, Andy Willard, the Kuchler twins. I know I'm forgetting like a ton of people, and they'll hit me over the times that we're shop talking and race talking, bench racing. It'll hit me over the time we're bench racing. So, why I got into writing was because, I was a BMX kid, and there was a bunch of us, Chad Clark, Sean Reed, Kenny Mox. I mean, Kenny Mox actually always had some form of a dirt bike, him and Josh McLean. But we were just BMX kids and just fell in love with the dirt bike scene. And then, did what I had to do and got the 86 RM125, baby. And just started there and raced until 2004 is when I stopped racing. And my 2 stepchildren, they started around that time, but then we all got out of it in 03, 04. We all kind of got out of it, but then dabbled back into it in the 2009, 2010. Dalton started racing. He had an XR80, and he did really well. Then he had a YZ85, and then a YZ125, and life just kind of got in the way. In 2010, we got out of it. Like at the end of 2010, got out of it. Everything was gone. And then didn't have another bike until I just bought my project bike that we'll talk about on this channel in 2009, KX250F. And it's hard to believe that in like 2 years, that thing will be considered vintage because it's 2.5 years. I'm sorry, 2.5 years. That thing's going to be considered vintage because it's 20 years old. But I put a lot of money, a lot of fucking money, a lot of time, and a lot of love into the bike. And I'm very proud of how it turned out. So maybe on the channel, we'll take a look at that at a time. I stepped back from racing because of injuries, and I wanted to make sure I focused on my family and made sure that, I did everything I could to be productive and enjoy their lives and my life together because that's where I wanted to be at the time. Then in 2015, I believe it was, my wife got really heavily into hiking, and so I joined her and fell in love with backpacking and hiking. And then 2020, we got into cycling, and we have done bicycling tours. We've done the High to Erie Trail all the way through. We've done from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., all the way through on the bike path that goes from Pittsburgh to D.C. We've done a lot of overnight trips. We've done a lot of century rides. Every year for a while, we did a 100-mile century ride to respect and honor and show, just remembrance of my uncle after he passed away. So we've done plenty of century rides. Haven't ridden as much this year or last year as we would like to, but we bought some little buddy scooters. Those things are amazing. 170s, dude, highly recommend them. Those things are amazing. We got like the Italian ones that are the green, and they're so much fun. We've done a lot of miles on those, and yeah, big guy like me, on a scooter kind of looks funny, but I tell you what, they're so much fun. They're a blast. Um, let's see. I've got a little note list here because this is a different show than what I'm used to doing. So I'm trying to make sure that I give you, everything that I have. As far as bicycles I'm riding, I have a Specialized SL1 or SL2, sorry, SL2. I have this Specialized Elise that's sitting right here. This is more of a trophy bike. It's the very first bike I ever bought brand new. So it's sitting in the basement with me in my office for the time being. I have a touring bike. I have a Specialized mountain bike, full suspension. My touring bike is a Jamis that's got the bags and everything, so we can camp when we're on the trail. So those are pretty fun. And then I have my KX 250F, and we have our little buddy scooters that I was telling you about. Um, this this is sheerly from a spectator enjoyment perspective. As far as expertise, I raced, but I am no expert. But I will give you my opinion on certain things when we're talking about the professional motocross scene. We're talking about, just everything going on as far as with what's happening with the adventure world. As far as I know, because I'm not an expert in this field. I've done a lot of riding over the years, and then I took a really long break where I didn't touch a dirt bike for a very long time until 2025. Yeah, 2025. My brother Christopher, who he's ridden his, he started on 50s and then went all the way up through, and he's never really stopped riding. He invited me out to go riding one day on his bike, and I rode it, and I was like, man, I'd really like another one. And my wife was like, go for it. So I got one, and I wanted to make sure that I rebuilt it just because I wanted that experience too, because I'm not a mechanic, but I wanted to see if I could do it. And like I said, I'm very proud of how it turned out. So we'll have little sections where we'll talk about current motocross that's going on and favorite riders and everything, and then I'll talk about the 90s when the favorite riders, and hopefully get some of my old friends in here and we can bench race and get some of the local people on, get some maybe not so local people on to bench race and just, explain the experience and what it's like to ride and race, because they're different things. One and the same, but still different. But it's all amazing no matter which type of riding you do. Then, like I said, we'll talk about, a little bit about my journey as a mechanic, as trying to be a mechanic in a garage corner or a garage top section. Then I'll talk about, trails I've ridden, places I've hiked, give, the camping tips I've come up with over the years, the hiking and kayaking, because we did a lot of kayaking, future destinations that we may have, and in places I want to explore. I want to have a listener segment where you guys just tell me, let's have a little interaction. What do you ride? Where are you from? What topics would you like to see covered? And then just really just, grow the show from there. And that's the parts that I printed out. Now let's do a little bit of off the top of my head talk. So growing up, getting into it and starting to race in the 90s was like, it's coming at a resurgence, kind of like, the generations before us, the 70s came back up, the 80s came back up. Now it's that 90s time to come back up. And then in motocross, you had two sides of the fence in the mid 90s. But prior to that, everybody had their like little favorite rider. I mean, I remember being a BMX kid and seeing Damon Bradshaw for the first time. I mean, come on, the beast from the East. That dude was like a breath of fresh air, rebel without a cause, because you had Jeff Stanton and Jean-Michel Bale, who, Jean-Michel Bale being the Frenchman, Jeff Stanton, because Rick Johnson was the original bad boy. And he was hurt and had the wrist injury and was contemplating retirement. So then you had Stanton, who was like he was the worker. He was just, you knew he was going to be fast, and you knew he was going to find a way to win a championship, and you knew he was going to find a way to win. I mean, that was just it. But then you had Bradshaw come in, and his style was just like in your face, fast, very, very stylish for a kid like me who was just like in awe. The bright pink colors, the purple colors, that YZ of his was just like, that was top notch. That's what we all wanted to be. I mean, I fell in love with Suzuki's very early. Guy Cooper, the Guy Cooper days. So, and then originally Mike LaRocco was on the Suzuki. So there's, that 90s era was like, we shop talk. I remember myself, Sean Reed, Chad Clark, my brother Steven, Kenny Mox, we would go to what was called here in town Sights and Sounds, and we'd rent what was called Throttle for the Gold, Winners Take All. There was a Crossing the Line was another one. But Throttle for the Gold was like the 1991 Supercross season, and we watched that thing so many times. And then you go out and you ride your bicycle and you'd be like, cross up, so those were like really good times. And then you progress as you get older into the mid 90s, and you had your McGrath, which was me, McGrath fan, and you had your Jeff Emming fans, and then their battle that kind of separated, you were on this side of the fence or this side of the fence. And there's so many fast riders out there also, but those two were the focus for quite a few years. Emming originally on the Yamaha in 95 was on the 250 class, was making some noise, but Jeremy had already established himself in 93 with coming out as the rookie and winning the championship, and then having to go back 125 outdoors instead of 250 outdoors in the 93 season, and then coming to 94, and he was full 250 and dominated Supercross. And then motocross, his heart wasn't in it. But he heard the critiques, the criticism, so he came back in 95 and just 100% lit it on fire. He won the 95 championship, and he was on an outdoors and indoors. 96 was on his way, tried a 6-step up, and then came up short. And then, injury took him out. Won that one. 97, the switch to Suzuki, everybody knows about. And that's when Emming got his first Supercross title. But yeah, and then you were coming to the Ricky Carmichael days. Huge Ricky Carmichael fan. And then Chad Reed coming over and making a splash, and then Stewart coming up through. I mean, there's so many good races that we could talk about, and then, being part of the local scene. I mean, Honda Hills, come on, Honda Hills Friday Night Series, Mark Weaver lighting it up. My brother Chris won a trophy, big 6-foot trophy in the 65 class, lighting it up. Yeah, like I said, Gibson, Burkhart, DeMuth when he was living here before he moved to Texas. There were so many really fast guys. I mean, my friend Troy Swartz, he was lighting it up. You had all the local District 11 tracks, COCR, Honda Hills, Dirt Country. Oh man, there were so many of them. I'm like drawing a blank on a lot of the places where we raced. Fast tracks, which was at the time Action Sports is what it was called. It was the Supercross that was right off of 93 out of Athens. And you want to talk about feeling like a superstar, go down there and race a Saturday night Supercross, and all the college kids come up from OU in Athens and watch you race. And so lots of fun memories with that one as well. So there's just a lot of cool shit, the crashes, the funny stories that go along with it, the bench racing with all that. And then as far as today's motocross, I mean, I'm a Deegan fan, huge Deegan fan. Hunter and Jet are amazing riders. Hunter is probably my second favorite rider on the track, but Hayden Deegan all the way. 250 class, I like Levi Kitchen. Cole Davies is setting the world on fire as well, but like, I like Levi. He's on a Kawasaki, which kind of, because I have a Kawasaki. Just overall, the racing is amazing. Can't wait to get back out and get on the dirt. Probably going to try to go camping sometime really soon, because I took a transit van, a low roof transit van, and turned it into a camper, fully finished out the inside. I may show you guys that one day. Fully finished out the inside with, bed, wood, insulation, all those things that the the van lifers do in old Vanarchy. I was an old auto glass van and I turned it into a camper, and it works out great for us. Hopefully get to go do some camping in the next couple weeks. I am going to Australia in September. I'm going to San Antonio in August. Those are parts of my professional life, but I'll still try to squeeze a few adventures in while I'm down in those areas. Plus, during my professional life, I do travel a good bit, so I'll try to squeeze in some adventures and actually capture them. So that way, we can, I can share those with you. This first episode is going to be nice, short, sweet. Coming up on 15 minutes. I want to keep it less than 20. I want to try to keep all the episodes short. I'm not going to give you a reason why to listen because I don't know. I'm just going to put this out there and then hopefully people like it. If you like my style, awesome. If you don't, awesome. Just, if you do the whole like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, please, because that's going to be pretty important as going forward, just because, I like doing this. This is a cool hobby for me, podcasting, but I like it to people to watch it and listen to it and stuff like that. Like I said, if it's 2 people or 20 people or 5 people, as long as somebody listens, it's going to make worth doing it. We're going to make it worthwhile doing it. So I'll leave you with a slight little, a little motocross story that I remember from. This is going to be my racing days in Honda Hills. It was 250C. I had a 1990 RM 250. And my friend Kenny Mox had a I think his was a 90 as well, YZ250. We were in the 250C class, and it was a night race. And we obviously getting ready for the whole shot. Everybody's jittery and everything. 16 years old. I think Kenny at that time was 18 years old. And we take off. We come in through the first corner and everything, and I'm notoriously a terrible starter, like notorious terrible starter. But I was in second. I'm like, and I look up and it's Kenny in front of me, and we are just going. And because we've ridden together, we rode APV area together, we rode practice together, we were all kinds of things together. So we really knew each other well, so we could ride in close proximity, knowing the other one wasn't going to, take the other one out or anything crazy. And I'll never forget, we come down, go to the first few tabletops, come back across the start line, and take the left, do the tabletop, go up the uphill step up, and then it turns back right on itself, drops down a hill, and then turns left. And it had got, like, during the day, obviously they disc it up and it's nice and soft and loamy. And that race was one of the second or third races when it got dark and it was under the lights and couldn't see. And I'll just never forget, in perfect sequence, Kenny lost his front end because of a slick spot on the track, and we were waiting the front end, and then I lost mine at the same time. And I just remember looking and seeing him go down as I'm going down, and I'm like, shit. And we both hit the ground. We get up laughing, and he gets up right away. He held onto his clutch, got up right away, took off. Obviously, I didn't hold on to my clutch. A little less experience than Kenny had. And it took me forever to start the bike. Finally got it started, took off, and I believe Kenny took second place that race, and I ended up fourth. And then we come back out the second moto. I won the second moto. He took second place, and I believe he got the overall that day. Yeah, I'm almost positive Kenny got the overall that day because of that. And so just some good old bench racing from 1995 that we did, and we had such a good time. Kenny's one of those people that you can't help but like him. He's just a good person, and I hope he listens to this because I think he's I would like to have him on the show because he started riding again after a long time as well. So I'd like to have him on and we can bench talk and everything like that. But other than that, check out HondaHills.com, Honda Hills on Facebook. Edge One Racing is our local, basically our local parts shop owned by Mark Weaver. Check it out. Get all your parts through Edge One Racing. He's on eBay. Check him out on Facebook. He just did the Vintage Nationals. That'll give you something to watch while you're looking at his page. Check out, get out there and ride, and everybody be safe, have fun, and keep a rubber side down.